what is that smell? I am definitely getting a hint of a deal. Oh wait, it's more than a hint. Yeah, these are the best deals, and not just this season, but all year long. In all seriousness, the smartest shoppers know that you get the brands you love with the most savings and cash back with Rakuten. And I know I'm certainly interested in sniffing out those deals. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Urban Outfitters, Petco, even Expedia, and getting cash back doesn't mean you have to miss out on sales because those can be stacked right on top. It's easy to use and based on a simple idea. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cashback through PayPal or check. Smells like a perfect deal to me. Download the free Rakuten app and never miss a deal. Or go to Rakuten.com to start getting the most bang for your buck. That's Rakuten.
Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
In 2005, 2 brothers hit the road to fight monsters. That road has led them to fighting demons, angels, and saving the world.
It's a journey that is taking them to heaven, hell, and back. But they aren't done.
Join our journey as we go episode by episode, following the adventures of Sam and Dean Winchester. We break each episode down with the writers, producers, directors, crew, and actors to bring you the behind-the-scenes stories of how this legendary TV series was made. That guy right there, that's Rob Benedict. He played God and Chuck Shirley.
Hey, and that guy there, that's Richard Speight Jr. He played Gabriel, Loki, and the Trickster. And P.S., he directed a bunch of episodes, too.
Now, while we are insiders, we're also outsiders, because we're not experts. This is our first time watching the entire series, all 327 episodes.
Rich and I have met many of the fans at conventions around the world, and we are deepening our understanding of why you all love this series so much. Because it's really good.
Yeah, it is. Now, listen. There will be spoilers, so consider yourself warned.
And thank you for joining us on this trip we call Supernatural Then and Now. Hi, everybody. This is Rob Benedict.
And this is Richard Speight Jr.
And we have made it all the way to Season 6, Episode 16.
Sure have.
And then there were none.
Actually, that's not true. There are many more episodes to watch, Robert.
Right.
Many more seasons to enjoy. So you're incorrect in your math.
Right. Except the name of the episode is And Then There Were None.
Again, you and I are both here, so there are two hosts.
Right.
2 hosts of this podcast.
Good point.
Your algorithm is, again, incorrect.
You're right. Egg on my face. Nevertheless, the name of the episode is And Then There Were None. And we are doing a podcast talking about that episode. And we want everyone to know that we're recording this in front of a live studio audience. We're in a studio.
They're nowhere near our studio, but they're apparently live.
But there's a live audience of our Patreon members who are joining us live. And afterwards, we'll have a little Q&A. And hey, we also want to say Happy New Year.
We sure do. I mean, we want to say that 2024 was certainly, if you look at a calendar and flip the pages back to January and then flip them forward to December, it's impossible to deny that 2024 was a year.
A year. It was a year on the calendar.
It certainly was.
Any New Year's resolutions for you, Rich?
Yes.
And what would one of them be?
I'm going to do a lot more squirting.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Living on my shrimp.
Just the check, please. Thanks.
And yourself?
I might cut out carbs. Sorry. Doesn't match your squirting shrimp.
All right,
but
nerd, what else are you going to do?
I don't know. Work out more, be a better person.
Oh, man, shoot me in the face. I'll tell you what. Here's my New Year's resolution: to be sure that you and Lauren Boebert go to a play.
Okay. Sir, we're talking about Supernatural. We're not talking about your weird things that you say about me. And I'm ready to do the summary. Are you ready to listen to it?
Baby, I am ready for you to do what you do so well, which is summarize.
Rick, an innocent truck driver, offers a ride to Eve. She somehow gets in his head and he goes home, bashes his family's brains in with a hammer.
Okay, that's a really quick,
Yeah.
what happened to the preamble, buddy?
Yeah, man.
It's like Rick beat his wife up with a hammer. Like, what happened to a girl comes out of nowhere, she's barefoot, we think she's innocent.
Goes into he's a really nice guy.
Yeah, she wants to get all Benedict on him, and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he tries to like keep her classy and give her some sort of moral compass. But no. She's all Rob Benedict this, Rob Benedict that. And poor guy ends up being a victim to this lady who's just turns out to be a real piece of work, a real monster.
Well, she whispers something in his ear, and the next thing you know, he's sitting next to his wife's bed with a hammer.
I don't know if she's whispering in his ear as much as she's transferring that worm, as we now know.
Yeah. Well, at this point, we don't know it's a worm. We think she's whispering.
But he's screaming, like, when she goes in there, you know?
Was he?
Yeah, dude. It's like, I thought she was biting his ear off or something, but now I've kind of, in hindsight, I think.
Oh, that's right. He doesn't. They go focus in on his eyes.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, he's standing there with a hammer. Meanwhile, Bobby has let the boys know he's getting reports of monsters gathering along I-80. They all seem to be headed to Sandusky, Ohio, the town where Rick killed his family. Bobby, Sam, and Dean head there to question the man, but he has no memory of committing the heinous crime. At the police station, the three hunters watch the security footage of Rick speaking with Eve and see that she has a monster's face through the static distortion.
Which is a crying shame because she's a doll when she's not through the security camera.
Whoa, keep your pants on. Jesus. We're just talking about the episode, man. You don't have to get all dirty.
That's the least dirty thing I've said this podcast.
Yeah, there are a couple times in this episode where I went, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
I was like, that was freaky. Wasn't that freaky?
Yeah, man. I thought it was really cool. And I thought that actress who played Eve was awesome.
Well, yeah, she's the same one we've seen, before.
Yeah, but she didn't do a lot of chat. This is the first time we've seen her be evil, right?
Yeah, other than when she came up from the flames. Yeah. No, she did a good job. I have a feeling we'll be seeing her again. She's Eve. Yeah. She's the big bad of the season. But yeah, no, that was good. And the face, that was freaky.
Yeah.
And I also liked Bobby also being with his FBI look on. You don't normally get to see Bobby cosplaying as an FBI person. And he had like kind of a gray jacket on. It's fun to see.
Yeah.
Suddenly a call comes in that a man is shooting up the cannery. What's a cannery, Richard?
Place where they can goods, where they can things.
Oh. Bobby heads there with the police. At the cannery, Bobby runs into Rufus, who's working the same case, who's also in his FBI gear. I loved it.
That was a funny place for them to run into each other.
They decide to team up just like old times. And let me just say here for the first time, and I'll say it again, these two, they missed the boat when they didn't have a spinoff with these two.
I could not agree more. Every time these guys are on screen together, Stephen Williams is so entertaining and their banter is so great. And as actors, they're so great. Why in God's name did they not create a show with these two dudes?
And what's so great is Sam and Dean are like young, beefy dudes. How great would it have been to have a supernatural universe as told through the eyes of two older, crusty gentlemen who are just comical together, and you know what I mean?
It felt like a CBS show.
Yeah.
And I mean that usually I mean that as an insult, but in this case I mean it as a compliment.
Yeah.
It felt like tonight after Angela Lansbury solves Cabot Cove's biggest mystery.
Oh, man. My mom would have been all over it.
Oh, my God.
My mom would have loved that show.
Rufus and Bobby?
Yeah, Rufus and Bobby.
The hilarious hijinks of the elder statesman of ghost hunting? Come on.
Yeah. Oh, man. Come on. The police killed the shooter. Bobby and Rufus head to the morgue to examine the body and discover strange goo in the cadaver's ear. They meet up with Sam and Dean at the cannery. They also run into Samuel and Gwen, the second cousin or something. Whatever Gwen was.
Yeah, I don't know. She's somehow related to them.
Who looks like Sigourney Weaver. She's a young Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
So Dean instantly wants to kill Samuel because of the events in Caged Heat.
I think he's referring to the 1960s rock act, Caged Heat. Or no, that was Canned Heat, wasn't it? Never mind.
Yeah, that was Canned Heat. Different name. And also, it would make more sense if he's referring to an episode of Supernatural called Caged Heat. But Sam stops him. Samuel confirms that they're all on the trail of the mother of all monsters who calls herself Eve. Gwen, young Sigourney Weaver, is shocked to learn that Samuel double-crossed Dean for Crowley. However, Samuel denies it. Dean confronts Gwen alone and then shoots her.
I will say this. There was a sequence in this part of the episode where it was definitely a who's on first.
Yeah.
The idea of naming Samuel when there's a Sam there is a real F up by somebody at HQ.
Yeah.
Because they're like, Sammy, you stay here. Samuel, go over there. Samuel, Sammy, you two, knock it off. They're like, oh, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Just call him Dave.
Yeah. But I love the aspect of this episode where you never knew who was evil.
No, you didn't.
And I don't know what it was. I felt like it was a reference to like one of those movies, like, I don't know, movies from the 60s, 50s or 60s, like, I don't know, but I feel like it's a reference to a movie. There's a movie plot where like, you
I
don't
know. Lock the doors. One of us is the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, so she's dead. That's it. No more Gwen.
No more Gwen, but I will say you this. Right now is the first time I know that
Her name was
her
Gwen?
character name. So
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
adios,
Same.
Gwen. No fault of the actress. Did a great job.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah. The group looks for Dean, assuming he's infected or possessed like the other two men.
Right.
The hunters locate Dean, who says some kind of worm crawled out of his ear.
He really got off easy because everybody else who has the
Super
worm,
easy.
they have to get killed or electrocuted to get the worm to come out of them.
I
But
know.
Dean,
Crawled out.
the worm just left.
It saw how perfect my ear hole was, and it wanted nothing to do with it. It crawled on out on its own volition.
I just said, please leave. He said, okay, sorry.
Well, also, not a lot of tears spent mourning the loss of Gwen or the fact that he killed his second cousin.
He did not have a lot of guilt, and people didn't seem to really care much.
I know.
In fact, you know who tried to bring her back to life? Rufus, the one guy not related to her in the group.
Totally. Well, that's the other thing. She gets shot in the chest, and then Rufus is doing the.
I think he's just putting the bullet deeper. I'm not sure chest compressions are what's called for in that scenario.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so the hunters agree to team up and find the worm monster. However, any one of them could be infected.
Yeah, man. Could be anybody.
Isn't this where they put all their guns in a bag?
Yep.
They put their guns in a bag and they put it in a locker.
Right.
So during the search, Sam and Dean follow Samuel out of the room and confront him about what's happened with Crowley. Samuel pulls out a gun and tries to shoot Dean and run away. Sam finds him
Yep.
and shoots him in the head. Well, maybe they still do have their guns at this point because there's a lot of shooting still going on.
No, what happens, they had to go get their guns after they realized when
that's right.
Sam and Dean run into him in the hallway and he pulled a gun
right.
out. They're like, oh, dang, now we know he's the monster. We got to get our
right.
guns back out.
Well, anyway, finds him, shoots him in the head. Looking for the monster, Bobby and Rufus try to cut into Samuel's skull. They have a heart-to-heart about a hunt from their past that went wrong in Omaha. Suddenly, Samuel reanimates and fights them off. During the melee, Samuel gets pushed against an exposed wire, and the worm escapes. But now, it's in Bobby,
Bobby!
who turns and stabs Rufus in the chest.
That's a bummer scene where they're all electrocuting themselves. Or
I mean, okay. Yeah, we ought to break this for a bit, break it down a little bit. So, first of all, no more Samuel. Samuel's dead.
Yeah,
Dead.
Samuel's dead. But it was also trippy because he thought he's dead, and then they take that blade to his skull, which was really creepy.
Yeah.
And then he pops right up.
Yeah.
And there's a big fight that ensues.
Yeah.
And Sam and Dean are locked outside the room, and then he gets shoved against the electrical box or whatever, and
Yeah.
zippity zap, he's down for the count.
Right.
And then that thing comes out of his ear and skitters to Lord knows where.
Right.
And then they got to figure out who did what now.
Uh-huh.
And they have that exposed wire, so they're just shocking the daylights out of each
Of
other.
each other, yeah.
And it's just like, so painful. And then Rufus immediately knows something's up because Bobby
Yeah.
won't do it.
Right.
And then Bobby stabs Rufus
In the chest.
in what can only be called a giant mistake and detrimental to the spinoff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, really. It's going to really hurt our chances of putting the spinoff together. Yeah, it was a real bummer. So then the boys tie the infected Bobby down. The great episode for Bobby, by the way.
Oh, yeah, a lot of Bible. And for Rufus until the stabby.
Totally. And for Pileggi. No more R.I.P. Samuel, but... So they tie the infected Bobby down.
R.I. Pileggi.
They electrocute him while questioning him and learn the worm is Eve's new creation that she made to lure Sam and Dean to Sandusky.
A lot of black goo coming out of Bobby when they electrocute him.
Oh,
they put
man.
the tape
And
on
the
his mouth.
Tape around his mouth and his ears.
Yeah.
I mean,
A lot of goo coming out.
and she has a message for them that the worm relates. She's pissed, she's here, and it's going to be nothing but pain for you from here on in. Wow. Well, the boys electrocute Bobby until the worm dies, and then the three hunters bury Rufus, and Bobby salutes his friend with scotch.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I thought it was there's so much about this episode I really liked. I kind of feel like they finally this is the two really good episodes in a row. I loved the whole idea of like locking it down and one of us is evil. Which one is it? It was hard to lose three major characters, but especially, Rufus and Pileggi. But I liked it.
Yeah, man, I got to say, dramatic tone shift from French Mistake to this one.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
And I loved this one. I thought it was great. I thought Mike Roll directed the crap out of it. I thought it was super well written. There's so many twists and turns. I feel like I rarely get surprised. You kind of see things coming. I was genuinely surprised that Rufus got stabbed. I did not know that Rufus was going to get killed.
Man, that was another time where out loud, I was like,
yeah,
no way.
So that was a bummer.
Yeah, and they left it on such a sour note, because Rufus was like, I will never forgive you for whatever happened in Omaha. I'll never forgive you. And then he dies. Then he kills him.
He should have forgiven him.
Now he's got something else he's not going to forgive him for.
Yeah, man, it was a great episode. I thought it was well written. I thought the Pileggi stuff, Pileggi playing the infected guy was great. The moment where Sam kills Pileggi, and we as an audience and Sam as a character don't know if the worm was in him,
right,
was really good.
Yeah, totally.
And they kept showing him like, worm? No worm? Oh, man. And then they, like, Sammy, drop the gun. We're going to put handcuffs on you. I loved that sequence. I thought that sequence was great.
Yep.
I thought it was great when Rufus, as you already mentioned, Rufus's reveal in the episode when he comes out in the trench coat.
Yep.
And that was great.
He's really funny too, man.
The actual worm effect was super gross and cool.
Mm-hmm.
The gal the actress playing Eve, great. That opening teaser I thought was really good.
Yeah.
And a cool turn, like that the guy was like, no, you need Jesus. Like, was a good guy. Not a creepy trucker.
Yeah.
I just thought so many things worked so well in this episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
What is the one that we didn't like? What was the one before French Mistake? The mannequin one.
Yeah.
Nice to be past that one. It's a nice palate cleanser.
And again, I feel like it's like we're kind of on a roll now.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the season. So
great episode. A lot of death, a lot of carnage. To your point, Rob, 3 very valuable characters. Well, certainly the Pileggi and Stephen Williams gone.
Yeah.
Brutal. Ouch.
Yeah.
Great episode.
Well, I think it's time for
Rob and Rich ratings. All right. Well, do you want to go? You want me to go? What do you want to do?
I'll go. I've got one. In this episode in particular, there was a beard that was trimmed. And it's just a really good beard, and that's the beard I'm going to give, and that's Bobby beard. Bobby's beard from this episode.
Bobby beard.
Bobby beard.
Bobo give Bobby beard. Boom.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm giving him the Bobby beard from this episode.
Nice. I am, just to prove that I am not just a Ben Edlund twisted comedy fan, I thought this episode was outstanding and hit every box, and I'm going to give this a Stapleton. A Chris Stapleton.
Wow, so you're giving it the same as the last episode?
No, because the last one was Chris Stapleton wearing a Santa beard.
Right. Okay.
This is just a Stapleton.
Clearly very different.
Give this. I thought it was great. I enjoyed every facet of it. Going Stapleton.
Yeah, 100% from Rich.
But pretty 100% from you. I mean, I take your Bobby beard as being like
really, really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good. I really liked it. Really enjoyed it. It could have been a 1-act play.
Yep, agreed. And then there were none.
Yeah, exactly.
At the Tiffany Theater.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I think a home run all around. Good, entertaining episode. You've been great this podcast, one of your better podcasts.
It's not over. We're just getting started, but thank you. There's a line in this episode that I thought was interesting that Bobby says, just because we're blood, or somebody says, just because we're blood doesn't make us family.
Yeah.
I thought it was an interesting thing.
Oh, yeah. It's sort of a turn on the old...
Family don't end in blood.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about Samuel at being their grandfather, and like, just because we're blood doesn't make us family, is what they said in that. So Dean says it.
Kind of interesting. It's a spin on the classic slogan.
Exactly. Goes
to show you that family don't end in blood unless Dean decides it does.
Exactly. And now we have such a treat. I really couldn't wait for this to happen. I'm so excited we've
never had this guy.
No. We've got Stephen A. Williams. Stephen is a prolific film and TV actor with a career dating back to the 1970s. This guy was in The Blues Brothers and Dr. Detroit.
That's so cool.
Yeah, you know him as the hunter Rufus in Supernatural. Just a few of his recent credits include Yellowstone, True Detective, Snowfall, Stumptown, and FBI Most Wanted. He's just a veteran of the screen, and excited to have him on. And here is our conversation with Stephen Williams. No, it's really great to have you on. Obviously, we're big fans of yours. And what we're doing is we're watching the show all the way through and sort of talking about each episode. So this episode we're talking about right now is your last one, or the one that when Bobby kills you.
Where Bobby stabbed me?
Yeah.
Which I didn't like.
It was a bummer.
I didn't like that at all.
I'm not a fan.
Oh, did you ever hear the story?
No.
The story of how it went down?
Please tell us.
Oh, it was like we did about 4 or 5 takes. And each take, I would do something, actors. I would do something weird, like, oh, Bobby, you stabbed son of a bitch, blah, blah, blah. Finally, the director says, okay, Steve, we're going to do one now where you're already dead, okay? I think that's the one they shot. That's the one they printed.
Oh, that's funny.
That's the one where I was already dead. Where I didn't get to say shit. I just saw Bobby stab me, and then the next shot is me just dead. Yeah, I was trying to go out with a bang.
It was jarring, man. Well, okay, before we get into this, we have much to discuss with you. Let's start at the beginning. How did you become involved with Supernatural?
I'm trying to figure that out myself. We had Jim Michaels, and then we had Kim Manners.
All right,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So I meet at a party, a friend of mine, I meet Jim, and we talked about it and blah, blah, blah. And then I learned that Kim Manners was on the show. And Kim, of course, had directed me a number of times doing 21 Jump Street. We were all good buddies and good pals and stuff.
Right.
So I was never sure of who brought me on the show. I think I might have insulted Jim once by saying publicly that, Kim Manners brought me on the show because I was sure that Kim was the one who brought me aboard since we had such a relationship from 21 Jump Street.
Uh-huh.
Every show I've done from the X-Files, Supernatural, I've gotten a referral of some sort from a previous producer and or director. These are things that I did not have to audition for. If I'm thinking correctly, I did not have to audition for it. Just all of a sudden, Stephen Williams here, you got this show. But I was never really, really sure of who brought me on.
Uh-huh.
I've been so blessed, and sometime I've had time spans where I was just so blessed to be working.
Yeah.
I just worked, show after show after show, not even knowing. I had a good buddy who's passed on now. When I told him about these shows, I was like, man, you're going to be on X-Files. Man, you're going to be on Supernatural. Man, I'm thinking, okay, so what? Not knowing just how popular these shows were.
Right.
And just what I was getting into.
Yeah.
That's my blessing.
You're so good as the character, too, by the way. Whoever's inspiration it was to call you up for this role.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that so much. I had so much fun with that cast.
Yeah.
And Jim was he was a Jim, Gem, to work with. Because you know him, he's got this dry sense of humor.
Yeah.
You really never know when he's kidding, when he's serious.
Yeah.
What's going on.
Well, you guys are such a great duo.
When I first got the show, I asked someone, what's the relationship here? And it was 2 grumpy old men, I was told. I remember somebody telling me, 2 grumpy old men, play it like, Jack Lemmon and
Mathau.
Yeah, Mathau. And I went, okay. But then I realized I could not out-grumpy Jim, So if you'll notice, I think Rufus was always just a little bit lighter than Jim was.
Yeah.
Because I knew I couldn't compete with him on the grumpy side.
Yeah, and you are throughout this whole episode. And then there's the little scene where he's like apologizes to you for what happened in Omaha. And you said, I don't forgive you. I don't forgive you. And I thought that was a really cool scene.
This is a mystery to this day.
Yeah.
What the hell did happen in Omaha?
I don't know.
Somebody at one point, I think, wrote or pitched at least the story of what went down. They never filmed it, so we never found out exactly what happened.
Did it have something to do with your wife?
That will always remain a mystery. That will remain a supernatural mystery.
Yeah, it dies with Rufus.
Yeah. But Rufus is not totally. He wasn't ever totally dead. They never burned his bones.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yes, I noticed that they didn't burn his bones, and also, let's be honest, even if they had burned his bones, it's supernatural.
It's supernatural.
Nobody's really dead in Supernatural.
That actually transfers
into
a little bit of real life for me. Because I'm thinking, do I want to be buried do I want to be cremated? I mean, this is real life decision that I've not made yet.
Yeah.
And it's really strange that this show has affected my decision-making process. I mean, do we remain spiritually on the planet, in the universe, if we're burned or if we're buried? So that's kind of disconcerting for me.
Yeah.
Is to have a TV show and a group of writers write something that actually affects my decision
Yeah.
whether I want to be cremated or buried, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's about what happens to the living, right? Funerals are for the living, really. And in this case, Jim or Bobby poured a bottle out for you, you know?
Poured it out into his own mouth.
And
yeah, they kept the memory alive for a while.
Yeah.
Hey there, this is Jared Padalecki, and I hope you're enjoying the episode. But we got to pull over for a second for some messages.
A new year means new opportunities, and if you've been thinking about starting your own business, let this be your sign to take the leap. Of course, this decision comes with a lot of questions, like, how do I get started? How do I come up with a brand? How do I sell stuff to people? What am I even going to sell? Well, if you have all those questions, you can take a deep breath, because Shopify's got you. Shopify makes it simple to create your brand, open for business, and get your first sale. With Shopify, you can get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. No coding or design skills required. All you need to do is drag and drop. Their powerful social media tools let you connect all your channels and create shoppable posts to help you sell everywhere people scroll. And Shopify makes it easy to manage all the details, like shipping, taxes, and payments from one single dashboard, allowing you to focus on the important stuff, like growing your business. The best time to start your business is right now, and with Shopify, your first sale is closer than you think. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/realm.
Hey folks, we're the hosts of Comic Sans, the podcast about comics for those who are sans knowledge. I'm Yen.
And I'm Nat. Comic Sans is a show for people who are new to comics, like me.
And people who love them, like me. I make Nat read some of my favorite works in the medium, including Saga, Daredevil, and The Flintstones.
And Yen talks about what makes that comic special.
We've just launched Season 3 of Comic Sans, with new episodes every 2 weeks.
And you can binge the first 2 seasons wherever you get your podcasts.
Thank you for supporting Supernatural then and now. And now, back to the show.
You mentioned X-Files. Did you ever work with Mitch Pileggi on X-Files?
Oh, he was my favorite.
Oh, awesome.
Mitch was actually my favorite. I absolutely adore Mitch and love him. And our confrontations were like the best for me.
Oh, cool.
You know, the 2 confrontations that I really liked was him and William B. Davis.
Uh-huh.
You know, the cigarette smoking man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Our scenes together were some of the most fun for me and most important to me. Yeah, but I like Mitch a lot.
Well, I love that. There's a scene in this episode where it's you and Mitch and Jim, you know, and the boys, obviously. But, you know, and there's kind of that standoff where everyone's pointing guns at each other, you know. It's so good to see you all working together.
Well, you know, one of the things I think Rob and I really love about your character is whenever Rufus shows up, things are serious, like shit's gone pear-shaped, but also your character brings a levity to the show. Rufus sees things through a humorous lens, it appears to me. And how much of that is on the page and how much of that is Stephen Williams?
I don't know. I always looked at us as the boys before the boys. That's who Bobby and Rufus were, you know, the boys before the boys. And there's a couple of lines in there that said I was like Bobby's mentor in a sense. I think there was a couple of scenes where a couple of lines said I was his mentor. So it made me feel like Rufus was the teacher of sorts. He was the guy with the expertise and knew what the hell he was doing, you know, enough to teach even Bobby.
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And then, of course, then I guess he wanted to retire. You know, I guess when I'm first introduced,
Right.
I'm like retired. And the only thing that gets me talking is that bottle of Johnny Walker Blue. You know, I think every actor brings a lot of himself. That's what a role is. I mean, it's you as that character. So you bring a lot of yourself to that role. And if you've got a good director, you know, that collaboration thing, that can bring all of that together, what the actor wants to bring, what the director wants to see, and what the writer has written. All that's got to come together. You know, and you've got to be on the same page, telling the same story, but with your own little twist to it. That's what makes it entertaining.
Yeah.
As opposed to that bland, you know, cross the line, that straight line across. Now you got all these little ups and downs and these little circles and things happening when everybody is adding a little bit of their own stuff, but to tell the same story.
And that's what makes it unique, because you're uniquely you.
Yes, any actor. It was like, for me, it started something like Kojak. Remember Kojak and his lollipop?
Sure.
Yeah, that was his little bring to. Maybe that was his bring, but that was a little quirk that made Kojak, you know, interesting. It made you stand out. Each character has to have something that's uniquely theirs. It's if you take, just hypothetically, you take a show where there's a killer and an assassin, say, and you know that when he does a certain thing, somebody's about to die. You know, actors create these little things. They'll say something, do something, make a gesture, you know, and you know what's going to happen next, because that's the signal for what's going to proceed.
Yeah.
On Supernatural, you have a lot of funny quips, funny things that you'll throw out. Was anything ever improvised from you, dialogue-wise?
No, I pretty much, if I remember correctly, pretty much stuck to the script. This was such a well-written show.
Yeah.
You know, when a show is written this well, there's no need to throw in things. Actors want to do that. Just naturally, we want to throw stuff in and da-da-da. But for the most part, to my recollection, I pretty much stuck to the script because it was so well written.
Supernatural, and this episode in particular, very well written. It's also, I hearken back to the episode that is, Weekend at Bobby's, Rob, where Rufus is so funny, and he's like, don't swallow the ring. I'm swallowing the ring, Bobby. Like, it's really funny.
Yeah,
really funny back and forth.
That was one of the best. That was one of my best episodes, I think.
That was a good one.
We love that episode. And even in following the lines, you can still do little things and still say the exact words, but add a gesture or a look or da-da-da. And it still comes off, you know, it gives it some oomph, some glare, you know, gives it a little bit of pep.
How did you, what got you into acting? Like, what's your origin story to the business?
Just a stroke of bad luck. No, I actually started in Chicago. I'll try to do this quickly. I started in Chicago as a model. I was selling ladies' apparel on Michigan Avenue, which is like equivalent to LA's Rodeo Drive.
Yeah.
Exclusive. A lot of my clients were women. I was selling in a women's clothing store, shoe store. A lot of my clients were women who were either models or female ad executives. And they kept suggesting that I had the physique to be a model. In my bio, remember when we used to write bios back in the day?
Yeah.
In my bio, I actually wrote, I got into this business to get laid. And it was true. These women kept coming in. I'm selling them clothes. I'm being charming. I'm dressed, you know. And they kept suggesting that I had the physique to be a model. And I thought, okay, if I become a model, maybe I can, you know, get with some of these women. And at the time, my best buddy, God rest his soul, happened to be a staff photographer for Playboy magazine. He was the first Black guy that was a staff photographer for Playboy. And we decided, let's take a portfolio, you know, let's shoot some pictures and do this modeling thing. In the process of that, someone asked me to do a community play. Right? There was a guy that came in. I was still modeling and still working at the store. And this guy, there was a play called Slow Dance on the Killing Ground. 3-character play, about a 3-hour play, 3 characters. One of the actors had fallen out, my role. Guy asked me to do it. I said, yeah, we had 2 weeks. I did this play. went and rehearsed, did this play, and I got good reviews. And I thought, I can act. That was like the discovery that I had a little bit of talent for this business. And then it started to snowball. And in Chicago, Chicago is a big theater town, man. Great people have come out of there.
Yeah.
Myself, Malkovich, Cusack, Joey Mantegna, and Sinise, and all these guys. That was my era. That's the era I worked in. And it just started snowballing. And then Blues Brothers came to Chicago. I got a role in Blues Brothers. That was the one. Actually, I did Cooley High first, I think. And then Blues Brothers came to Chicago, and Blues Brothers brought me to Hollywood. I was hired for 2 weeks, and it turned into about a 4-month job. Wow. Because they had one scene left to do when we left Chicago. They brought me to L.A., and I spent 2 months in L.A. at the Sheraton Universal Hotel. It was a night shoot. When the sun went down, every day they'd come pick me up, take me to the studio. I'd be at my trailer all night. Sun would come up. They'd go, "Hey, Steven, we're not going to get to your shot, your wrap." This went on for almost 2 months.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Right. And I'm getting paid. In the meantime, I'm making contacts. And one of my contacts was Stephen J. Cannell. And I started working for him, the 18.
How did you make that contact? Walk me through that.
I don't know. My agent just while I was in Hollywood, they had me audition for a couple of things. While I was waiting to do that one last scene for Blues Brothers. They had me audition for a couple of scenes. And
that's awesome.
I started nailing jobs there. And everything just started to snowball. So this career, I call it a job history, not really a career. Denzel, Samuel, Tom Cruise, Brad, they got careers. I've got a great job history. I have one of the longest and best resumes in Hollywood. I'd put my resume up against anybody.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how it happened. I'm sort of a journeyman actor, I guess. And I'm blessed. Just purely blessed to still be working. I've got my 79th birthday coming up and next month, and I'm still working.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I would like to be in the $20 million club, or like to have made it to movie stardom or even major television stardom. But I'm happy with what God has laid in my lap. I've been able to make a living at this. From the moment I started working as an actor, let me put it this way. From the moment I started working as an actor, I've never had another job. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome in itself, statistically.
And rare.
When you hear about actors struggling and have to do da-da-da-da. I either worked as a model or an actor from the time I started.
That's fantastic, man. You're not kidding about having a long resume, buddy. I know that Rob and I both been seeing you and stuff since before we moved to LA, and you're always so entertaining. You always stand out. It's no shocker that you go from job to job to job. And on this job, Supernatural, you're just fantastic, man. So
yeah, well, I had great people around me. Again, great people around me and great writers. That's the ticket. This is such a team effort. People really don't realize just how much of a team effort this is for everybody involved, from your PA all the way up to your executive producer. It's team.
Yeah, and what you brought to Rufus, I thought, which is really hard on a show like this, is you brought a history. You brought a character that has a history, and whether or not that was something that you did on your own or it just kind of came out. But it's hard to do on a show like this when you play a guest star that only comes in every once in a while. But you believe this guy has been a hunter for his whole life. You believe that he's seen a lot of shit, and that's you bringing all that to the page. So that's, we love that about Rufus.
I always like to say too, that the one thing that I do depend on is relating to the words. It's like even in an audition, if I can relate to the words that I'm reading, I can give you a good audition. I did one movie once. Actually, I did a movie where I didn't relate to the words at all. It was a thing called the Adventures of Power. And it was such a weird, I don't know if you've ever heard of the movie.
Mm-mm.
I play this drummer. I play a drum teacher who has no hands.
Oh, wow.
And
whoa.
I go in and I tell the director, I have no idea what the hell is going on here. I don't really, he said, just read them. Just read them. And I read them, and I did get the role and turned out fine. But it's always better when you can relate to the words, can relate to whatever emotion is going on in that scene.
Yeah.
Relative to you as a real person. Because there's so much set up that an actor has to bring so much of his own self, and have an imagination. I think Dustin Hoffman, way back when, I forget the movie, but Sir Laurence Olivier, somebody said to him,
This is
plant your feet, say your lines.
Marathon.
But some actors think in order to play a heroin addict, you got to go out and do heroin.
Right.
That's those method actors, I think we call them.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing. It's acting is reacting. That's been said also. It's that simple in some cases. Just react honestly to whatever someone says to you. And if you are relating to the topic, because I've had friends ask me, how do you memorize all those lines and stuff? I go, just pay attention to the subject you're talking about.
Right.
And what would come next logically. And if you're talking about, baking a cake, somebody says something to you, think about what your logical answer would be to whatever they said to you. So it's a thinking process, and you can't overthink it. Just react with as much honesty as you can. Because somebody also said to me, actors, you guys make great liars. And I go, no, that's not what we do. It's just the opposite. I think we try to find the truth in a line. People think acting is lying, is pretending. But what we're really trying to do is find the truth within the lines that we've been given relative to the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
Did you ever do any teaching?
No.
You could.
No.
You could.
Because and people have asked me about that too. Why don't you do? And I go, because my class wouldn't last no more than 5 minutes. I mean, it's exactly just react honestly. Okay. Because I remember when I first came to LA, I took a couple of acting classes. And that's another thing about me. I've never had an acting class, really, an acting long-term acting class. And the biggest emphasis was on freeing yourself up, getting out of yourself, and I thought I'm a wild, gregarious, loud product. I'm a baby boomer, I went to 2 of these classes and went, I can't get any freer. I'm already there when it comes to freedom and coming out. I have no shyness and none of that shit that I don't know people are supposed to have stacked on them. So I thought, when somebody asked me about teaching, I thought, I can teach you to act in 5 minutes. Just simply react honestly. Boom. And this is why children, I think, give the best performances. The Natalie Portmans from Professionals, the Jodie Fosters from Taxi Driver, they're just honest performances. They don't have all these other thoughts in their heads and, encumbering their thoughts. Right. Well, I should do this, I should do that. They just lay out the line. The director tells them, you're sad. So say this line and pretend you're sad. You're happy. Say this line and pretend you're happy. And it comes out so honest. Yeah. And so straightforward. Yeah. Without all that acting that they try to teach you in your head.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I feel like I've learned something in this class, Robert.
Absolutely.
Thanks for doing this, buddy.
In the meantime, we'll see you probably at a convention soon.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, put my name in the hat for any convention.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Robert.
I love those conventions. The fans, I love the fans. We've got such a large fan base.
Great fan base.
Yeah.
As long as the boys aren't there. When the boys are there, everybody else is invisible.
That is true.
Yeah. And when mom and dad aren't there, we get to play.
Thank you so much for doing this. Great having you. You're so great on the show. And you're a hell of an interview, too. So thank you.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Come back and talk to us again.
Oh, and check me out. I'm doing, just since we're on a podcast that's going out, I'm doing FBI Most Wanted now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm part of the Dick Wolf family now.
How great.
Yeah, I do a recurring role on FBI Most Wanted.
Great.
Fantastic.
And I think there may be an episode. I play Edwin Hodges' dad.
Okay.
I play an ex-FBI agent. Oh. So I'm hoping they develop some storylines for me. And
great.
I can hang in there for a while.
Yeah, that's great, man. Well, more places to watch you is more better.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Steven. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
All right.
Hey there. It's Misha Collins. If you're like me, you want a break from the sound of Richard Spade's voice, we'll be right back after this.
You are now entering Springfield. Where's the body? Off the side of the ditch down there.
Hello?
You know, surrounded by all this crime scene tape.
Hello? Am I dead?
My name is John. I'm the new forensic pathologist. I can see you, and that's how we'll figure out how you were murdered.
He took this away from all of us!
31-year-old female, pronounced dead on the scene approximately 3 a.m. after a 911 call. File number 3367. Male, impaled on a construction site.
I'm dead, John. This is about the last amount of fun I'll have.
Case number 1017. A wife blended her husband in a wet vac. Case number 0477. Case 2457. 3721.
Dead. I can't be dead.
It's okay. It's just you and me now.
Who are you talking to?
Oh, no one. Let's keep this between us, huh? Listen to How I Died, a full-cast police and medical procedural with over 40 episodes available now on all podcast apps.
Welcome to the ultimate social deduction game, Blood on the Clock Tower.
The evil team must stalk the streets at night, hunting down members of the good team one by one. Meanwhile, the good team must outmaneuver the evil team using their unique abilities.
I'd like to kick things off by telling you all that I'm possibly the demon.
Our players can mislead and manipulate others with absolute freedom.
I didn't like hearing my name in the same sentence as demon. That was very upsetting for me.
Emily and I will be your storytellers, guiding you through every labyrinthian twist and turn.
How are there so many evil players in this game? What's happening?
With guests from No Rolls Barred, the Pandemonium Institute, and Oxventure, you won't be able to stop listening. Go to realmspod.com/clocktower to find out more.
Hey, guess what? We're back.
Well, that was, man, what a guy.
What an interview, and what a life.
Yeah. I could listen to him talk for hours. Oh, man, it's such a treat to talk to Stephen. And I mean, what a career. That story about Blues Brothers was just amazing. And you know that the reason that he had to stay in his trailer all day was probably because Belushi was on one.
Yeah.
The stories about that movie, Belushi was like, you know, in a complete state of drug craziness.
But man, they printed money. It sounds like Stephen Williams, like the gig that kept going.
Helped launch his career really because he got to meet other people.
He was being paid to go take meetings at that point.
Well,
that's awesome.
Well, that was awesome. That was super fun.
Indeed.
All right.
And now, Robert, I'm segueing into a part of the program that is aptly named Mythology.
All right. Tell us about parasitic brainworms, Rich. You know.
Well, they do occur in nature.
Okay.
A common variety is Paraliforgativarla.
Yeah, a common variety is Paraliforgativarla
tenuis.
That's cool. He plays tennis.
Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, well, that was our attempt at the Latin.
Yeah.
Well, animals become infected by eating snails that contain the larvae. And the larvae travel through the digestive tract and spinal nerves to the brain and spinal cord.
All gross.
Yeah.
Across the board, gross. Deer are most frequently host to these brainworms, but other animals like moose, mule deer, and sheep can also become infected.
Is there a name for it other than Paraliforgativarla tenuis?
Kurt.
Okay. So RFK Jr. had a brainworm. However, his was likely T. solium, a type of pork tapeworm. Worm got into his brain and ate a portion of it and then died. And that's exciting because now he's leading, what's he leading? Department of...
The Health and Human Services or whatever the hell he's doing.
That's hilarious.
A third type of brainworm is Dicrocoelium dendriticum, or the lancet liver fluke. These are the ones that turn ants into zombies.
Nice.
And yet the uncles get away scot-free. This is different from Ophiocordyceps, which is the fungus that turned ants into zombies and is the inspiration for the infection in The Last of Us. Again,
right. That's true.
Uncles are just walking around like
right.
Their S don't stink.
Right.
None of this made any sense to me. I don't even know what they ants into zombies, or I didn't know they're zombie ants. I don't know what to believe anymore.
I don't either. I mean, zombie ants is a new thing, although I did see The Last of Us and liked it very much.
Let's get out of this depressing mythology and into something much more fun, appropriately named Fun Facts.
Wow, you were a real critic when it came to the mythology.
Zombie ants, man.
You still really don't like brainworms.
No.
Well, the title refers to an Agatha Christie novel with the same name, and then there were none.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if hers has an ellipses at the beginning like this one does.
I don't know, but I do know this. The French title is Le Retour d'Ève, which means Eve's Return. I wonder what it means in Japan, Ravi. Any thoughts?
The happy fun boat that kills you?
Yeah, that's right. That's what it is.
Using a hot wire to test if you are the monster was also used in the 1982 John Carpenter film, The Thing.
Mitch Pileggi has played a character electrocuted 3 times.
Ha.
This episode, the 1989 Wes Craven film Shocker, and the 2011 film Mega Cyclone, which is why he was so good at it. Practice, 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 you know?
He is really good at it.
It's a deep cut.
Rufus wasn't burned on a hunter's pyre because he was Jewish, and cremation goes against Jewish tradition.
Okay, I must have missed something. When did we know that the character of Rufus was Jewish?
Well, they say something in the end. He was like, he never worked on the Sabbath. You know, he always said when it was time to bury a body, he said he couldn't do it because of the Sabbath. Yeah. And so hunters are burned on a pyre. That's a thing?
Yeah.
I knew that, but I didn't.
Brent State, rhymes with spate, who plays Rick, also starred in the movie Stonehenge Apocalypse with Misha Collins.
What?
Which doesn't rhyme with spate.
That's amazing. What great intel this is. I
know.
So, first of all, Rick, he's the truck driver. He's great.
Yeah, he did a great job.
He was great.
Really good job.
Yeah. Really believed him. Like at the beginning, I was like, from the beginning, I was like, oh, this is a nice guy. He's not going to like.
Oodles of sympathy for that guy.
Yeah. Well, Bobby says the line, a dump truck full of bubkiss. Bubkiss is American slang for nothing.
Yep.
And it was appropriated from Yiddish slang in the 1930s.
Great episode, everybody. We loved the episode of the show. Fun podcast. Getting Stephen Williams in here was an awesome opportunity for us.
What a delight. What a delight. Things are looking up for the end of 2024.
Unless you're Mitch Pileggi.
Or
Stephen Williams.
Right. Or
Gwen.
Young Sigourney Weaver. Nevertheless, we continue on, and we'll see you at the next one.
Yes, we will.
This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester and Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester.
Guest stars include Stephen Williams, Jim Beaver, Mitch Pileggi, Jessica Heafy, Brent State, and Julie Maxwell.
And Then There Were None was written by Brett Matthews, directed by Mike Roll.
Editing by Anthony Pinker, music by Christopher Leonards.
Executive produced by Robert Singer, Sarah Gamble, and Eric Kripke.
The episode originally aired on March 4th, 2011.
This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Spade Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine, written by Stephen Hine and Haida Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty. Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at SPN Then and Now.
And become a member of the podcast to get early access, chat rooms with other podcast fans, and video interviews at patreon.com/SPN Then and Now. For those that are listening on the our live stream here, whenever Rich does his voice loud, the Zoom cuts him off. So for Steve and I, we can't really hear what he's saying.
Is that true?
So that's what makes it kind of funny. You're like, and now it's time for. Thanks for abandoning me, both of you all, on the did Rufus come back or not? Nothing, no word. Twice.
I haven't seen the show.
I know, but somebody say something. I was like, yeah, 2 episodes. He was like, I don't think so. I was like, Richard. Nothing. Crickets. Steve? Nothing. You guys.
I felt like you had it.
No, I didn't have it. I clearly didn't have it.
Story Mill Media. You should listen to the GamesIndustry.biz microcast.
More people are playing games than ever before. They've never been more popular, and yet the business behind it is facing some real challenges and changes.
There's been tens of thousands of layoffs, hundreds of studio closures as major companies face rising costs and falling sales.
There's uncertainty around the future of game consoles.
There's legal and government intervention into how games are even being paid for.
The role of AI is changing how games are being made.
There's the impact of games like Fortnite and Roblox dominating everyone's time.
And then there's the desperate wait for Switch 2 and GTA 6, and that's just 2024.
Two leading business journalists with a combined 35 years of experience offer you a weekly guide through all of this and more.
I'm Christopher Dring, head of GamesIndustry.biz.
I'm James Batchelor, editor-in-chief of GamesIndustry.biz, and you can join us every Monday for the GamesIndustry.biz microcast.
The most important stories,
expert guests,
exclusive market data,
and all in less than 30 minutes.
Usually.
The GamesIndustry.biz microcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you want a person dead, you call a hitman. If you want a monster dead, you call Lincoln Franks. But you better be able to pay the price he asks, because Lincoln doesn't work for free. Pay to slay, bitches. Slay Season 2 is the current season of Scott Sigler Slices, a fiction podcast with dark tales hacked from the mind of a #1 New York Times bestselling author. Slay is a foul-mouthed, monster-killing, drug-addled anti-hero story that's John Wick meets Buffy meets Breaking Bad. Slay Season 1 is complete and waiting for you in the feed, as is Scott's short story anthology, Blood is Red. Scott Sigler Slices is the world's longest-running fiction podcast, 19 years and counting, with new episodes dropping every Sunday. Get Scott Sigler Slices on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.